I've been wanting to speak to you guys for a very long time. I've been speaking to you guys for a very long time with our collaboration with whales and estuaries, but we finally made it happen. We're here in the studio, and I guess we could start off with how we actually came across each other and how whales and estuaries have some sort of connection.
This production was recorded at the podcast studios in the Media Arts Centre at Murdoch University. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Murdoch University. Any content provided by the hosts and guests are their personal opinions and are not intended to represent the views or opinions of the university, its administration, faculty, or staff. Now we have that out of the way, let's talk science. Paramount importance.
Basically, for our whale research, we do two different projects. One is using drones, the other one is using light planes. And with the light plane surveys, with both projects, we cover 450 kilometers of coastline, so quite a large extent. And during the plane surveys, I got into the habit to basically just record whatever I can, like from whales to dolphins to sharks, vessels, and so also the estuary openings. I've read through some papers for southern white whales. There were some people that attempted to do some analysis on whether the opening event of estuaries impact the distribution of southern white whales. Theories were it might, whales might not like the conditions because, it drops the temperature, it impacts salinity, just nutrients in the water, agriculture runoff, whatever enters the water there. So whales might avoid these areas, and then on the opposite, it might benefit the whales. Like it might actually cleanse their skin or whatever, if they have an itch. So I found that really interesting, and that was the reason why we started collecting the data. And then in the year when we started the drone surveys, we needed to scout out all the spots where we could actually access the coast.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
And fly the drones from there. And one of the points we had to cover, we had to actually pass through a private property. And the property caretaker, he was the one responsible for getting us in contact.
Our good mate Randall.
Who you know very well.
Yeah. So he allowed us to go through the property for our whale research, and he also told us about you and how you enter the property as well, because there's an estuary right next to
Cordon
the house, basically, Cordon Up Inlet. And then he told a story about you, and he was like, you guys need to meet, and so we did.
Yeah, and it started from there, and that's how estuary scientists gets to work with whale scientists. Yeah. It was so interesting. The amount of data that you collect is remarkable. But then also when my eyes just lit up to because we learnt that the openings of estuaries are one of the major drivers to the fish communities and invertebrate communities inside these estuaries. So when we figured out that we put thousands of dollars of loggers into estuaries to see how often they open, and then there was always fouling or some sort of issue, or battery runs out in them, and then so you had this fine scale data more than any other possible way of getting it, which was just remarkable. And so that was it was a pretty cool, unique collaboration, and where this is all started from, I guess. I'm going to go back to the very start when you talked about the projects, though. Because your projects is remarkable in itself, or how you've got the funding, well, no funding, but you've got the volunteering help.
Bit of funding, and mostly community engagement. Yeah.
That story, that's why I was so excited to get you guys on, to get that story out, because it was I remember when Professor Neil Lonergan and you guys came and had dinner, and then he was just going oh my God, how have you made this happen? So it is a crazy story.
It is.
So let's go from the very start.
Yep.
How did it all become about? So you guys were doing your masters?
Yeah, so we both doing our masters, and I mean it kicks off with Katie and the community, and especially a bunch of pilots who are just private pilots who down in WA sort of South Coast region. We've got a lot of ex-farmers or active farmers that have planes and so on. And
I mean, really, it kicked us with just the two of us and a bunch of volunteers. The first year we did in 2020, the plan was completely different. I just started my master's, and it was my first year for the dissertation, basically. And the plan was to follow up on a mate of ours from uni. So Max and I met at uni.
Brendan Lumley.
And then Brendan Lumley was a friend of ours, and he did his dissertation on southern white whales on basically vessel impact assessments in King George Sound in Albany. And my plan was to follow up on that, and Max was very dedicated to help me out in that year. And so we had a bunch of volunteers to support us as well. And I went out with the volunteers early morning and tried to find whales earlier than the whale watching companies. And then Max hopped onto
By a boat?
boats. No, just by a car.
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah, just I had like several lookout points covering the whole sound. And then, we tried to graze along them early morning. And then Max would be on the whale watching boats, and I would message him when we found the whales, and then he would basically take the whale watching companies there. And the idea was to record the behavior of the whales before, during, and after a vessel encounter.
Right.
Yeah, so far the plan, and it worked out all right, I guess. But what didn't work out is that we didn't have any whales coming in, really.
Oh, okay. So you
2019, loads of whales. I think Brendan had somewhere in the 80 or something encounters over his season. And then we followed up, and I think we had 12 or 18 or something.
Did you find out a reason why? Or is there a theory why?
So there was a storm event that year in, I think it was late August.
Mm-hmm.
And
3rd of August, a lot of estuaries opened.
Oh, hey. Coming in with the deep cut.
But yeah, that's we noticed that from the lookout point, from the rotary lookout point, Marine Drive lookout. You can see the whole harbour, and then you can see literally like the mouth opening of the Emu Point, and then Kings and Cargan River flow into there, as you know. So it caused a really large plume, and you could see it day by day how it was growing and covering more and more of the harbour. And then we had the chat to the whale watching operators, and one of them was doing the tours for 20 years?
Yeah, a long time.
Guesty. And he mentioned that he has the feeling that whales don't like that plume, So yeah, that was the first time that we had that idea, with the estuaries and stuff. But that might have been because all the data we collected before that storm event, and there was literally not a single whale coming in for the rest of the season. Which doesn't mean they weren't at the coast. They just avoided,
those
the harbour
bays.
net, like right in front of Albany. So
And that's kind of also how the plane stuff started. Kind of kicked off.
So that's a very to fly a plane is not cheap, and to go up in a plane every single week.
Yeah.
That's an amazing amount of work that you have to do.
Yeah. It wasn't our idea.
Yeah.
No, because that at the end of 2020, that year that failed, basically, it was the wife of the pilot. So David and Lisa Marie are basically the main people we started everything off with. And Lisa Marie is the wife. She posted a photo of a white southern white whale calf in 2020 at Chains Beach, so like half an hour away from Albany. Her husband was the one flying, and so I got in contact with her over Facebook, and they invited us for dinner. So we just exchanged, our passions. Like her husband, David, told us about flying, and we told them about the whales. And then David was the one having the idea, what would you reckon? Like, would it help science to do weekly aerial surveys? And we were like,
I'm sorry, what?
What? We've got to pay for that.
What do you mean
weekly? He was like, well, we make them pay for it. And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. So yeah, in some years we had 17 pilots, some pilots did one survey a season and that was enough. And others did like 8.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was crazy. Everyone seemed to really enjoy it.
And all community funded,
privately funded.
Privately funded.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
It's
very expensive.
It is.
And a lot of dedication of the pilots to do that. Yeah.
And it's great to bring the community together to that, because this is in a way, it's like citizen science, right? It's an amazing feat that you guys are, and you've continued it. So that was 2020 and it's still going even this year.
Yep.
Yeah. So that was 2021. We did the first year of plane surveys. Yeah.
Sometimes up to 2 planes a day. just to cover that large area between the Fitzgerald and Albany, that's a lot of coast that you've got to cover. And
Yeah,
to,
so you
to
said
safely do it.
450 kilometres of coast?
Yeah, about that of coast.
Yeah. In
And
comparison, Australia is 4,000 kilometres across.
Yeah.
So that's like, was that 1/8? I hope my maths is right there. Yeah.
I don't know what the stats. Do you remember like what the linear distances that you've flown?
I think
we worked it out. Yeah. Don't know.
I think it went 1.5 times around the world.
Yeah, something like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
It's over 100 hours airtime I had.
In 1 year?
No,
Or-
in total.
Yeah, right.
It's a
Yeah.
huge effort.
Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah.
And the amount of data and stuff you guys got and what you've collected is phenomenal.
Well, especially Katie, you should see it from the plane. I mean, she's got one hand on a stopwatch, one on her phone,
Yeah.
this on her lap, something strapped to her knee, a compass over here. It looks ridiculous. Like you should grow another arm. I've seen you push things with your nose once. No, seriously, it's wild. It looks amazing. But yeah, like not only whales, Katie, you got like the boats, the estuaries opening. How many estuaries do we identify? Because you kind of got us onto the estuaries because you were only collecting the big ones and then the micro estuaries. Could you just talk about that real quick? Just the micro estuaries.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I only had 12 estuaries before we met, and then you gave me that file for Google Earth, I think it was. I don't know. And we ended up 34 estuaries, including all the micro ones.
Yeah, that was around the time that we were essentially like discovering estuaries.
Yeah.
Like when we've learned about these new types of estuaries, micro estuaries, and there were some larger ones too that weren't regarded as estuaries or just not known. Because like when I was figuring this out, this was back when then they did these surveys was by plane or by forward driving, and then when I started was like, well, I've got satellite imagery, so I just went along and marked everything that looked like a water source that met the ocean. Estuary-esque. And then, then we like validated them, ground truthed them. And that's where that was like, I was doing that around that 2020, 2021 period and then just grown from there. So and then you have the data for the opening and closing of all these estuaries and yeah, it's crazy. But you also like, there's so many questions I got all about this stuff that we'll definitely.
Well, you've been in the plains too on a scout mission for estuaries as well with
I did.
One of our pilots.
Was
Mick.
it last season?
Last season.
Yeah, I'm related to Mick.
Yeah. Yes, true. Yeah.
Long way. But yeah, the Muirs and Moyers, there's a connection there somewhere. So.
Yeah, I think Moyers is a pretty big family in general. There's road names named after Moyers.
Yeah.
Mm. What about you, Max? Because you're not in a plane.
I'm not.
You're flying a mini plane.
No. I once called myself a pilot at one of our plane meetings. So before and after the season, Katie does this really great just community building thing where we talk about the last season and the upcoming season. It's like, yeah, I'm a pilot too. And one of the pilots is like, Max, shut up. You're not a pilot. You're not a pilot. So I fly drones. So it kind of came from Katie's project with the planes and us kind of like, I think it really came from the question of, is that the same whale in that one bay that we saw last week? Is that the same one? Because from the plane, you can't really make out its ID. So they've got these little white spots on their head called callosities, which you can use to re-identify them pretty reliably. And so we were just really interested in seeing, like, I have a feeling this group is the same group that I saw last week, but we just don't know. We had no way of knowing. But through
painful, literally.
I know you were just like, you were like, can we go out? And
it's like that one bit of data that she couldn't collect.
I know. Out of like all the data points you could possibly dream of, but that just didn't work from the plane. I mean, there is the annual survey, which goes sort of during mid-season, but for that you've got a professional pilot, Jenny Schmidt, and they've got, and you take off the sides of the doors, and you've got a pilot hanging in straps with like a telephoto lens, and it's just, and you're going half the altitude that you are regularly allowed to do.
That's one survey.
But that's one survey a year.
So
so that's kind of our interest doing surveys throughout the whole abundant season. So catching the early season, getting onto the late season and sort of seeing that growth and decline of abundance along the coast and seeing that calves, their growth patterns, how long do they stay? And so all these kind of questions initially started from Katie in the plane, and then we used the drones to sort of answer them because we're able to identify, well, there's certain beaches that they combat that they are pretty reliably at. Sometimes we'll see a whale outside of that sort of an aggregation area, but generally they're in the same spots. And while they're pretty hard to reach with the four-wheel drive, and I didn't start off with being big into four-wheel driving, but now just by necessity, I'm really big into it and I love it. And I spend a lot of my free time even outside of the season on the coast.
Yeah, for the global listeners or people that haven't even been to Albany, like a lot of these beaches that you have to get to, there's no roads.
No.
Well,
dirt track.
The dirt tracks that are
pretty rough on your car. Yeah.
Proper four-wheel driving, and like
very, very remote. Like we have to carry. There's no connection. You have to carry a sat phone, just in case something goes wrong, and stuff does go wrong pretty frequently. Like we've bust axles on the beach. I burst, I think, 7 tires last season. Like it is full on. Yeah,
you were in the tires. I don't know what happened. Like
you didn't bust a single one, and I bust 7. Yeah, I know it was really bad.
I definitely say better driver.
Probably.
Oh God! And then
7 tires. That's a lot.
7's a lot.
Yeah.
That was an old car though that we were using at the time.
Yeah. And the tires were not new either.
No, they were not.
Because you had a car funded to you as well for the project.
We were incredibly fortunate that we had Campbell Transport, which is a local transport company down south, and also one of the pilots for Katie, like one of the founders of that, David Campbell Senior, was a pilot for this, and he also obviously was sort of enthusiastic about what we do and really supported us massively in funding a fuel card and a pretty good car. Like it's a 2018 Prado, which is an amazing car to get around with, and really sort of kept us safe and reliable as we went and did these surveys. And again, we're covering 450 kilometers, but that's by air. It's actually incredible seeing Katie in the plane. I've done a few plane surveys, and it is almost frustrating seeing how quickly she can get out to the far end of Point Anne. It takes me like 2.5, 3 hours just to get to that point to start my day survey. And by that point, she's halfway back to bloody Albany. It's insane what you can do in a plane. It is incredible how fast you can go. But then that closer look when you take a drone out and you can, we have, permission to go a bit lower than you normally are. It's 60 meters above a whale or dolphin without specific permits. So we get a little bit lower than that to get a really good look at the whales and just to get really good quality ID shots. And that difference in scale between the plane and the drone is amazing, but it is a lot more effort to do it by drone and by car. It takes a long time.
So how does your day look like?
Starts early.
Like, 'cause you're both trying to go out on the same day as well, right?
Once a week the planes, and so we're trying to do a drone survey at the same time. There's a paper that I'm trying to get I'm trying to finally get written up, where we're comparing sort of the quality of how many is Katie getting from the plane, how many am I getting from the drone, just to have a methodological understanding of what we're doing. So we'll try and go out on the same day.
So how does that day look? And then I'm gonna ask you that question.
So basically, I can give you an answer for one day, and then Max has to give you an answer for 1 week. 1 week for him is equivalent to 1 day for me, is what he said. For me, a day in the plane starts usually at 7 at the airport with the pilot. We'd be in contact probably every 2 days the week before to monitor the weather and discuss. And then, and during peak season, we need 2 pilots as well, because the more whales there are, the more circles we need to do. So the more time it takes and the more fuel we need. So we run out of fuel at some point. So during peak season, I need to be in contact with 2 pilots. One does one half, and then we land at Mix Airstrip in the middle of the survey area. The second pilot will go from Albany to Mix Airstrip, and I would just swap pilots and planes and do the second half with the other pilot. So
that's phenomenal just in that.
It's crazy.
How long is peak season?
So we usually do that for 2.5 to 3 months.
It's crazy.
And then we can go down again. So so meet the pilots at the airport at 7, and then he does his checks on the plane. I'm usually quiet during that time because he has to focus. I get organized in the plane myself with my equipment. And then he starts the airplane, warms it up, and then we fly out to Point Charles, which is about an hour, just straight line into the sunrise, which is beautiful in the early morning. And then we start the survey, so turn around and we just follow the coastline with the plane, basically. And whenever we see a whale, we circle it. I take a GPS waypoint. I've got my data sheet where I note down how many individuals I see, what the pod composition is, so like mother-calf pair or unaccompanied adults. what their behavior is, things like that. Same thing for other animals like sharks, dolphins, but sometimes we don't circle them because obviously, it's more expensive for the pilot, the longer it takes. So try to be careful there. And then we just follow the coastline until we reach Albany again.
Well, even your descriptions of the estuaries, like sea states and everything, like that's phenomenal.
Is it leaking?
Like,
how big is the leak out of the estuary and stuff?
Yeah, I take a lot of pictures as well. So in the end, I go back and I'd see a picture and I'd remember the moment and I'd remember more of it. So yeah,
because you got pictures of them as well, which is like, I love them. It's so good.
Yeah. You can ask Max. It's very, very. I'm religious to enter data like as soon as I can after a survey, and during peak season it takes a full day.
Oh, you must have hated me when I did the first run.
No,
I think it took it. I don't know if I think I entered it all in. I can't remember. But I know it was a long time after. But anyway, that's my bad.
Yeah, no, good. It's just, but yeah, it makes it to suffer from that a bit. But yeah, that's basically a full day, and then we land back in Albany, and then I drive back home, and usually I start
go to church. Religiously enter your data.
Yeah, no, I'll give Max a call usually right away because. We said, like, I never gave him information about the area that he wanted to cover on that day because it would just bias the data he'd collect, if that makes sense. Like, if it's
I know, like, she saw 4, I'm gonna get 5.
I need to get those 4, like maybe he'd get more, maybe he'd get less,
we need to be very systematic and unbiased in that sense. We're very, very careful to not know anything because they could be just around that headland and as much as you want to get every single whale possible, when comparing especially, it was really important to us to have a repeatable survey effort and make sure that it's every week's the same.
Interesting. So you don't say like, oh, there's whales in this bay.
So not right after the survey. That allows us to just compare drone and plane surveys without any bias. But then afterwards, when Max has finished covering the whole area.
We get very competitive.
Yeah. No, he usually gives me a call again and he's like, okay, did I miss anything? And then I'd let him know.
I'm competitive.
No, I mean, if there's a whale sitting around the headland and he's, he doesn't know, but is sitting right in front of it, it would be a pain to not get it.
Or you'll see something like really weird where you're like, dude, go and find this.
Yeah.
Like, go there
that
right
actually happened a few times that I had to call him after a flight. I was like, Max, you have to go, like, drop everything you have. You have to go right now.
Yeah, like there'd be like a really big shark, like sort of right up against this mother calf pair, and we're like, we want to know what happened.
I think the best.
I want to know what happened.
Yeah. I think the best example was actually in the first year we did the drone surveys in 2022. You were at Chains Beach, and we were flying over Pullinup, so we're Beaufort Inlet. Obviously, is it? Who am I talking to? So yeah, we flew over Pullinup, like this big protected bay, and we'd have one mother calf pair and 2 sub-adult southern white whales hanging out together, and then we spotted a shark about 100 meters away from them.
A great white, I'm assuming.
Almost always
not too sure. It's
almost
most
always
of the time.
great whites that I see, at least from the drone.
Yeah. Like, there's not too many sharks that are that big.
Yeah.
And they seem to hang out over like shallow sandy water and have that nose shape and stuff. So it's pretty clear.
And like none of the animals seemed very distressed or like, very active. Everything was very slow, but the shark was pointing towards the whales and the whales were pointing away from the shark. So I was, I was like, oh my God, please don't, I don't know what happened. So I gave Max a call, I think, while I was in the plane still, and I was like, Max, you have to go.
What?
Yeah, so he dropped everything. And Pullinup is really not the easiest four-wheel driving down there, right? So he made it there, I think, maybe 3 hours later. And he found in the bay 1 adult and 2 sub-adults.
Oh.
No shark,
and there wasn't another adult
calf
around, so we have there's no way of knowing what happened, but it was just, it sort of put our imaginations on fire a little bit. We're like, that's
all
interesting.
The whales that I saw could have moved out, and the whales Max saw would have been a completely new set. That is definitely possible.
It's all possible.
But it is also possible that the shark took the calf, Like, we just don't know. That's the...
Can a single shark take a calf?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they weigh a couple of tons. They're pretty heavy.
Yeah.
They are pretty heavy.
A calf, definitely. Not an adult. And there are stories of adults protecting calves from sharks, like literally building a wall with their bodies, which happened in Bremer Bay a few years ago. But yeah, we just don't know. But that story is just like lingering for years.
How big do you reckon that shark was? That would have to be huge to take a.
Yeah, I reckon at least 4 meters. I mean, it was big enough for me to see it like clearly at 300 meters.
Yeah, that's a big shark. A big shark that could take a whale.
Yeah.
I mean,
how big is a baby whale? A baby?
They get born at 4 to 5 meters.
And already a couple of tons.
Wow, because it would have had to drag. Like if its carcass is not there, it would have had to drag it. That's crazy.
Let's get all.
You never told me that story before.
No, I didn't tell you that story. No, it's too many open questions as well. You know, you don't want to be like, this is what happened. So there's that many open questions. But it is interesting for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Has stuff like that happened more than once that you've seen?
I've had an encounter where there's just a big, not a medium-sized grey white sort of approach a mum calf here and then just kind of veer off again, approach again, veer off again. But it didn't get particularly close. You know, I mean, they do that kind of like sussing behavior. They're really cowards, those big grey whites. On the whole, they're cautious.
They're
curious but cautious.
And they might be lazy as well if they have enough food, like other food around. You know, I think the area in general is pretty healthy, so. I don't really know what exactly they feed on, but I can imagine there's a lot.
You know, correct?
Other things, but I mean, it's that's one of the theories that sharks get, they're interested in the placenta of whales. So southern white whales actually, I think until a couple of years ago, they've never been observed giving birth. And then a couple of years ago, it was the first time ever witnessed, like a video of it.
In South Africa.
So the theory is that southern whites actually go offshore to give birth and then come back with the newborn as soon as they can, just to leave all the mess behind, not take it to the breeding grounds, not to attract any sharks. So,
right,
I remember talking to someone else about like, if you get a footage of a southern right whale calf giving birth, like you can probably sell that for like lots of money. That'd be awesome because you're gonna have the drone up. I was like, that's it. That's how I'm gonna fund the first drone season. Hell yeah, we're going hard. And like we spent especially in the first year, we were, I mean, honestly, dawn till dusk. It was like 14, 16-hour days. We come back like well past dark. It was an insane effort from.
And that year we didn't do it with any volunteers.
And that was just the two of us. Yeah. Ever since we've been really supported by having a lot of volunteers that will come out for a week at a time or 2 weeks at a time. We've been so lucky with having so many lovely people donate so much of their time to come out and.
Can still people come and help out with you guys now? Are you still taking volunteers?
This year's been pretty slow on the ground for volunteers. It's really
in terms of people joining, or like can people still join?
I think there's always an interest in having people come along. That's all been filled out, especially for this season. Like we've had sort of all slots are kind of filled out.
I'm sure there's like a few people from Paramount Importance that would be very interested to come see if you guys, and they will contact Little White Whale Project, right? I can't believe I haven't mentioned that yet. Is your what would you call it? Your brand, your team, what you guys are called is Little White Whale Project?
No, not really. No. The Little White Whale Project is basically originated from 3 pilots and 2 of their wives, including Lisa Marie and David that we mentioned earlier. They just founded that non-for-profit organization to help us get funding easier or have more funding opportunities.
Sort of giving you a platform.
Okay.
Yeah, so they call themselves the Little White Whale Project and they support us, but we are not the Little White Whale Project, if that makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know that.
No.
Yeah. It's a bit of a...
Yeah, so how do people contact you then? If like the people from Paramount Importance want to come?
Oh my God. We, I guess, are not that professional as that we have like a platform. We should really think about getting one. But generally it's just like...
Yeah.
We're really lucky through this to have like a good network of people already in Perth. I mean, Perth Marine Science is quite a close-knit community as it is, or not close-knit, but at least like everyone kind of knows everyone else. So it's been amazingly straightforward and filling out 7 straight months. I didn't think it would be possible, but I think everyone's kind of interested in whales. Like to be fair, they are
and
very
you get to go to
sympathetic
some pretty
species.
remote.
Like to be fair, it is. It is also a very beautiful way to see the coast and just forward driving all day long. And
but if anyone ever wants to get in contact with us for whatever reason, like whether it's field work or just having questions about whales or something, just
link
go
that
to
in the
our
podcast
private
as well.
Yeah.
just
Well,
our
because I
private
get contacted a lot in my social media for volunteering
lovely
stuff, and like I don't always have the opportunities to put people somewhere.
Yeah.
But yeah, if there was opportunities for you guys down there, so
I mean, we have advertised with Murdoch especially, so we got mostly Murdoch and UWA students, marine science students a lot, but also people from all walks of life. Really, we've had backpackers, we've had just every type of person come by, and
I once had an Australian farmer.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you did too.
With dreadlocks.
Yeah.
Just interested.
The craziest dude.
There's no real. You don't really need.
Well, I get the same thing. Like contacted from a wide range of people. They're not just students at the universities. They're like so many different people just wanting to come out and help out because I think people are really keen and invested in to try to like help our environment and all that, and just sometimes they just don't know how.
Yeah.
And they go, oh, I can volunteer and do this, and I can help them out. And like, yeah, it's great. Like. That's helped me out a lot. So if we'll find a way that they can contact you somehow then.
Yeah. We'll find a way to link it below or something. Yeah.
Personal socials is the easiest way. Yeah.
Okay. All right. What's your personal? It's Katie Serendipity, right?
Yeah.
And then you're Max Fabry.
Yeah.
So yours is
very straightforward.
Yeah. I think there's a question that's on everyone's mind, and we've been speaking about sharks.
Oh God.
Because you said you've been collecting where you found them. Has there been any links to like sort of beaches that are more common to see the sharks, the great whites, than other areas? Yes. There is. Can we share which ones?
It actually overlaps with the southern right whale, like main aggregation areas that we see.
Really?
Which is interesting.
Well, that kind of, makes sense in a way, right?
I mean, the maximum number of sharks I ever saw in one survey was 4, and they were split between 2 areas that were 150 kilometers apart, if that makes sense. So 2 here, 2 there. So it's not massive amounts that we see, but we do see them frequently. And if we see them, they're literally surfing in the breaks, like in the surf, in the like in front of the beach, right?
Yeah.
Don't say that. You will get people going into the water now.
Well, they have to be
in a way, it's interesting. It's common.
It is interesting.
People know that they're there, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, you need to know.
We're not saying anything groundbreaking.
I know.
Yeah,
go surfing, everyone. Go out and get into the water.
Oh, definitely. Like that shouldn't hold you, but I mean, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, absolutely.
One place is Chains Beach. Is pretty popular as well. There's a caravan park, I think. We had a few sightings there, but most of them were more on the like northeastern end, like away from the bay where most people hang out.
Okay.
Like not a lot of people go 4-wheel driving up there, but they do patrol up and down the beach as well.
Mm-hmm.
It is known that there's great whites there.
Got one like right in front of Tourist Rocks. Like
there was an attack there only like last year or a year before.
Yeah, something like that. And I think 2 years ago was a very active year for sharks there as well in that bay.
Yeah, from what I could tell.
Yeah, and then the other area is in the Fitzgerald National Park, which is more remote.
Yeah.
So not a lot of people are there in general.
Right next to the St. Mary's.
Yes. So there, and then the next bay over at Point Charles, and then the long beach at Trigolo Beach as well. I think we actually saw 3 in one go at Trigolo as well. It's a 20-kilometer long beach. Yeah.
That's the west side of Fitzgerald, right? I know, because I surfed at St. Mary's a few times.
Yeah, no, me too.
So when you say, I was like, what?
Yeah, we genuinely will, like, when we see surfers after seeing a shark, we'll pull up, say, hey.
Yeah.
And half the time we get people's like, yeah, it's the ocean, mate. Give a shit.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay.
I remember.
Fair enough, valid.
Yeah, the first time we had that, we just arrived at our lookout and we just saw that shark. I remember as if it was yesterday, like literally surfing towards us, and there was a surfer just getting ready. I ran like a little girl in a movie, like arms up, like whirling around, it's like, what? Dude, don't go in there.
You know there were great white sharks though?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That one we could see.
Yeah. Literally. And did they go in the water?
They were still in.
Yeah, 100%.
Wow.
Cool as can be. It's pretty sick.
I think that's a shark that I'd probably be like, I might surf with bronzies, like all the other sharks. Okay, fine. They swim under you, whatever, they may look at you or whatever, but A great white, that's probably one I will avoid the water about.
I want to have been in the water with them, but I don't want to be in the water with them. It'd be very interesting to see. Now we've got some friends who've recently been out there on a boat at sort of a long trig, pretty much every day for a few days, and according to them, they'll see one a day, every day. Without a doubt, at some point they'll see a shark during that day.
Where's Trigolo Beach? I'm sort of getting
sorry, that's
lost
like Point Anne, just that big long beach along Point Anne. So along that, they'll get one every day. At some
really,
point, without fail. For I think it was 9 days straight, and every single day.
Wow,
because it makes you wonder if they're resident or not.
Gordon Inlet is in the middle.
Oh, that one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Gordon Inlet is.
Because I've dived that point too, and it felt really sharky. To the point where
there was a film crew with Nat Geo, and like some of the big names in like WA dive filming. You probably know a lot of them. Like they were going diving with like shark, like chainmail and stuff, and even they were like, "Nah, this feels sharky. We're not going to go here. We want sandy bottom. We're not going to go." Like and these are like badasses of the film world. Like like Andre and
cameraman never dies, but
they're like shipwreck hunters or whatever nowadays.
Yeah,
and even like this feels sharky.
Yeah,
I don't know about this.
Crazy. Yeah, that is crazy. Yeah, I didn't see a shark, but I got out of the water because I was like, I just don't feel safe here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it was, and like I dived that like all the coordinate points and all parts of Esperance, and
isn't it funny? Apparently this is now a universal thing that there's like some seven senses like. This doesn't feel good.
Especially, it was surprising. We got to swim at Trigolo once as well. We were fortunate enough to hop on the permit of a documentary film team and got to swim with Southern Lights.
Wow!
And we were surprised how murky the water actually was. Like from the plane or from the drone or even with your naked eye, like it's turquoise, it's crystal clear, right? But once you're in, it's actually very, very murky, like very fine sediment around everywhere, and probably that's what reflects it, makes the color. But yeah, we were surprised, like when because they dropped us fairly far away from the whales, and then we had to swim the rest because we can't take the boats there. And on the way, I remember I was like, can't really see very far. That feels sharky, but we had a shark shield, so I guess that helped. I don't know.
Well. Up for debate. I know this is a whale podcast, but I do have one more shark question.
Hell yeah, absolutely, please.
How often are you seeing? I know you said the guy on the boat sees one every day, but like when you're flying across the coastline and you're saying there's like areas, more hotspot areas where these sharks are. How often is this? Like
in the hotspots?
Yeah.
Maybe every second flight, every fortnight.
Oh, wow, that's a lot more than I thought. Yeah. And that's only like, I guess, once in a week, right? So, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like a little snapshot sort of of the coast. And again, you can really only make them out if they happen to be over like light, like bright sand. If they're over murky stuff, there's no way you pick them up. There's no way. So.
Well, that's like essentially saying like 50% of the time you're in the air.
Yeah, about one shark per 450 kilometers of coastline.
Yeah, okay, true. That's a different perspective. Yeah, I know you actually, another shark question, because you saw a pretty cool behaviour, which I'm pretty sure is how I brought it up with Oliver Jewell when we talked about great whites, when you saw two sharks like trailing.
Synchrony.
Like swimming parallel along the beach.
Yeah.
Was that you or was that you?
I think that was me with the drone. Yeah. They were sort of perfectly like nose to nose, tip to tip, about 50, maybe 200 meters apart from each other, or something, 100 meters apart from each other, maybe 50 meters from the beach, and they're sort of swimming exactly the same speed. Sort of seemed to like they might be trawling along the beach, seeing what's there. At least that's obviously interpreting it.
Doing their transect of what they can eat.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, maybe.
What kind of shark was it? Do you know?
Great white, both of them. Yeah. Not big ones. They weren't massive.
That's an interesting behavior. I would have thought. Like, I'm no shark
because they're usually solitary.
Yeah, definitely speaking out of our fields of
very much so. All of this is like we should not be saying anything.
But it is interesting, and like you're collecting data that for them that shark scientists I think would find super valuable anyway, and like I think this is part of science, right? It's like you're finding information that you weren't expecting to find, but
cross-pollination. I mean, look at what's happening with the estuaries and whales. You wouldn't have thought that that's a natural sort of crossover, but absolutely.
Yeah. So I still haven't even really got through any of the whale questions, but this has been so great and it's so interesting. So I'm gonna go. Let's dive into what you guys actually been researching, right? So with the southern right whales, why were they hunted so specifically at the start? So I'm going to go right to the start
Right back to the
why
beginning.
they were so vulnerable to begin with.
Absolutely. I mean, southern right whales were sort of WA's first export good, really. So like sort of 1800 to 1850 is all it really took to decimate the local southern right whale population along the coast from shore-based whaling, and that was sort of done in most of those bays where we now see whales sort of slowly come back. And I mean, they're named the southern right whale is the right whale to hunt because unlike humpbacks or even blues, they stay positively buoyant when you shoot them. So they're that rich in blood, but they're the same length as a humpback, but are twice as wide, twice as chunky.
Mm-hmm.
And so you get, I mean, a huge blubber yield out of one individual. They're predictable in where they go. They're up, only 200 meters from shore. Really, I mean, you're going along the beach and right behind the breaking waves to a point where we get people sometimes ringing us up concerned, like, I think this whale's about to beach. I was like, did it have a dorsal fin? I don't think so. I was like, yeah, it's probably a southern right whale. And they're perfectly fine to be there, but they're so close to shore in such a vulnerable sort of space where we can so easily interact with them. And so they're very quickly, and this is in the days of sailing ships, like this is like the Boston Whaling Company would come down with sailboats and hunt them on this coast. So, they went down to about 200 individuals at one point. We estimate somewhere around the 200 individuals in the world.
Yeah.
That's one of the estimates. There's a few different estimates. I think one says 400, but it's a very low number. And so it's taken them this long to really come back. So really in about, the last sort of...
Well, they have one pup how often? Like every 2 years?
That's a good question. It's sort of started to change a bit. It used to be every 3 years pretty consistently, which is the sort of was thought to be the biological maximum recovery rate. So 11 months of gestation.
Wow.
Sort of...
There was a recent publication actually that the gestation period is very, very different. It's like 16 months.
Instead of the previously thought 11.
Yeah, maybe take that out.
Just very quickly.
That is a really confusing finding.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
okay.
So we've still tried to make sense of it.
One of the cool things, just very quickly about southern rights, is that you ask a question and half the time the answer is like, we're not too sure, which is like amazing. It is just, that's sort of what really sets our brains on fire is that what about this? Like, that's a good question. Not too sure. Yeah. Maybe you want to go find out. It's like, absolutely, I do. So
like these animals are literally sitting 200 meters in front of your nose, right? Like they should be the first whales everyone knows, yet no one really knows them and they're really poorly researched. Why? Because there's still not many of them left. So it's just the accessibility of the animals.
And they're hard to reach locations in wintertime. It's, it's definitely not as... Some say like it's not sexy science. It is cold. You're wearing a million things. It is
have to camp out there where you're talking about.
Camp a lot. Yeah, camping a lot in freezing cold conditions. It is. Yeah, it's difficult, but fun too. Yeah, but very accessible, especially for things like drones and so on. So it's great.
How are their populations looking now? So you said they've recovered somewhat.
Absolutely.
What is there estimates now to what they are?
So the most recent estimate is very old. It's from 2014. And they are planning to do a new one, but it's not available yet. That estimate was, it was only at 12%.
12,000.
12,000 individuals. No, it was 12% of the pre-whaling abundance.
Yep.
So really not much.
What rough number, or is it 12,000?
I think that's global.
The global population of southern white whales. So you can only find them in the southern hemisphere, right? But all southern white whales there are right now are only at 12% of the abundance they used to be before whaling.
Yeah, right. That's still heavily impacted.
Yeah, and they are recovering, but different populations are recovering at different levels. So Australia is an interesting example. We've got two different subpopulations, one in the east and one in the west. The one in the east has not been recovering significantly. So basically the number of breeding females hasn't been increasing.
I think it's stuck around the 300 or so, around that benchmark of 300 or 200 individuals. Is it 258 was the latest? All right.
Yeah, 258 breeding females only, and they don't seem to increase. And then for the Western population, the information is coming from the annual census that we mentioned earlier. So they basically, it used to increase at near the maximum biological growth rate, so near the 6%. Um, and the now in at the start of this year, there was a publication from using the annual census data, and that said that that the population has stagnated, so has halted their recovery for the last decade. So they stopped recovering. However, there is a lot of variety in like the number of whales you see every year, right? Because of that 3 to 5 year breeding cycle, not all individuals come to the coast every year. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So a breeding female, it's unknown how often she would come to the coast in years she's not giving birth. But if she's only coming in the years she's giving birth, theoretically, she would only visit every 3 to 5 years, depending on when she gives birth.
Right. Okay.
So there is a fluctuation between years in the abundance we see. And this year has been an absolute success.
Yeah, it's a huge year for us. Biggest year we've seen so far. So
Oh,
since
really?
2022, it's massive. It
Yeah.
seems to be across the board, at least in the West Australian subpopulation. So I
Mhm.
think the head of bite is saying I think it's the biggest year since 2016 for them. So a huge year,
Yeah.
which is great. And I think that high number is probably going to bump our average. So
Mm.
the law of averages is going to
Yeah.
sort of give us a bit of a win, but on the whole, yeah, we're carving at a much more reduced rate than what it used to be, and it's pretty worrying. I mean, southern rights are capital breeders, so they'll put on a lot of weight and feed in the Antarctic and sort of that Antarctic sub-islands and in the its conversion zones down there, and yeah, so if they're potentially it is a reason why they're not coming up and breeding as much as they used to is that they might not be getting enough food. There's a lot of different theories, and obviously we're not too sure what it is, but it's definitely a lot of cause for concern.
Yeah.
Even in a great year like this with more whales than we've seen before.
Yeah. So basically, during like in an optimal way, when a female would give birth every 3 years, it's mating, next year giving birth, next year resting, feeding,
Recovering.
and then mating, giving birth,
Mm.
resting, feeding. Does that make sense? So that's that cycle. And if they increase to 5 years, it means that they need 3 years of resting and feeding instead of only 1 year. And
So that could be an impact from like climate change and everything. And
exactly,
Absolutely
yeah.
could be.
what are the
Absolutely.
southern rights impact from like ship strikes? Because that's, I know for humpbacks and stuff, that's one of the main.
Yeah, and it's actually very severe for their cousins, the northern right whales in the northern hemisphere. A lot of people are convinced that we see them extinct in our lifetime. Unfortunately,
I'm one
there's
of
less
them.
than
Purely because of
400
ship
left
strikes.
them.
Absolutely.
That is the leading cause.
And
Yeah.
entanglement, to be fair. Entanglement and ship strike, those are the
Yeah.
two biggest causes.
For southern white whales, it is definitely a threat, but it's not categorized as severe as for the northern white whales.
But also you
Right.
don't know, it's a black box.
Yeah.
Whale leaves, don't know if it's going to come back again. With North Atlantic right whales, I think there's less than 350, or I think it was 360
Right.
something
And
a
it's
few
going
years
down.
ago, and it's going down every year. And the calves don't survive for very long,
Right.
and they're smaller and skinnier. It's a real worry. But in this case, you pretty much know exactly how many there are and how many are being taken out by ship strikes over the years. But here we just don't know. We don't know how big the problem is. But we do have a shipping lane underneath, Albany and Western Australia that kind of hooks around WA. So, yeah, it's a publication out about one of the tagged whales that they suspect was hit by a ship. So one of the tagged whales was hit. Yeah. So that's only one of the few tagged ones. So that kind of potentially gives you an indication about
How often it
severe
happens.
or not that problem is. But yeah,
Of this year's tagged whales,
no, there's no tagged whales this year.
still need to get catch up.
Yeah, you can sometimes hear some horror stories from people working on those ships.
I bet.
And what happens. And yeah, it's definitely not good enough yet.
Yeah, I
It's
mean,
a lot of improvement are needed to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and even like not only big ships, but also like small recreational boats. It's only been in the media recently of a southern white whale actually where a recce just bombed over a calf. Like, some people,
footage is pretty crazy.
yeah, like some people, they don't pay attention. They think just because they don't see the whale, it's not there, but people actually need to be aware that they are in an area where whales are known to be. And
Pretty
then maybe
bad
just
boat
slow
driving
down
for
a
a
little bit.
recreational boat to hit a whale.
I heard, honestly, you'd be surprised. I don't know if I'm attracting these phrases, but I had so many people saying to me recently that they call whales marine speed bumps.
Wait, what?
Yeah. I'm getting so angry at that, but I
Oh,
had
boy.
like people in Exmouth and people in Jurien Bay, independent from each
Yeah.
other, called whales marine speed bumps in front of me.
That's pretty messed
Yeah.
They were
maybe
really lucky I had a beer before.
Yeah, that's not good.
No.
No. Can't imagine people have that philosophy.
No, I don't think so. And with Southern Rights again,
not, but
yeah. I mean, with Southern Rights again, they're like so close to shore and they're underneath the surface, or they're lying just on the
log
surface. It's called
like
logging the
yeah.
behavior because they lie like a log on the surface. And so, with humpbacks, they're much more active. You get that big, they're much more active. You see that back as it sort of arches, giving them the name humpback, and they're further offshore, and they might be a little bit more boat aware than Southies. Southies are a little bit dopey. I think I get to say that.
Yeah, okay.
In a lovely way. They're my absolute favorite, but they're a bit slow to react to that sometimes. And so we do. I've got some pretty frustrating footage of boaters obviously unaware that they're going right past 3 or 4 mother calf bears. Especially this was a really big boat. You can see that going right past the whale, and just as they pass through, then the whales just like have this crazy reaction to this boat as it obviously just whip by them 50 meters away without the boater being aware of the whales there, or at least I hope he wasn't aware of it. And
less than 50 meters, do you reckon?
Oh yeah. Ooh, I think 50 meters is my best guess, or I wouldn't want to say closer than 50, but definitely well closer than he should be. And I'm sure that has to do with just not being aware of southern right whales. So for all listeners, spread the word. Southern right whales are right by, right along the coast. And I think we've just had a few southies in Perth as well this season. In Freo, Leighton Beach or something. Yeah.
I posted it to you. We have one in Jurien Bay as well, even.
Yeah. Right. So I'm going to ask 2 questions back to back. What is their migration path, and then how often do you re-sight a whale?
So the migration path is not very well known. There seem to be several spots along the coast where they kind of hit the coastline, and then from there they would go and seek out their individual breeding area or bay. Female shows site fidelity to their breeding grounds. So basically, the bay where she was born will be the bay where she will give birth later on. So those bays are
likely to be that.
Yeah, are super important for like generations of whales, right? So there seem to be different spots at the coast. I feel like just from observations from the plane, I feel like the Doubtful Island Bay area might be one, because we often see them just like traveling out and in again. But don't really know where exactly the spots are. And then some whales travel west, some whales travel east. I think more whales travel west than east, but it's
migration
not really
route.
No.
We're only just finding out a lot of these things. So again, there's been a bit of tagging effort, which has been amazing in understanding their, especially offshore movement. My whole thesis, which was focusing on southern right whale nearshore movement, where you'd look at them again and again, sort of in a mark recapture style survey, where you do a beach and you do it again and again and again, and you see the same individual again and again and again every week. And you'd piece together, well, roughly how long is it staying on our coast? And is it moving from this bay up, further east? Is it moving west? Or are they moving from west to east? Or do they stay in one bay? Because if you look at like the conservation impact of that, if they really stay in one bay and that's the only bay where they're found, or they don't move along the coast, well, great. Then you protect that bay, or that this is the bay that you just can't, don't mess with this bay. This is really important. But right next to the bay, it's not fine, but like you don't have to worry about whales. But at least in the 2022 study, and since then we've looked at nearshore movement, and absolutely they'll move between, say, Chains Beach and Doubtful Island Bay, and we get late arrivals from places like, I suspect, Israelite Bay, because we're getting these like almost large, almost fully 2-month-old calves. Well, where do you come from? You're not from our survey area, and the next known sort of larger survey area is Seychelles Bay in this case, which is
like more South Australia. Well, it's Western Australia, but
it's moving towards
direction.
South Australia, and this is hundreds and hundreds of kilometers away. Hundreds of kilometers away, very far away. And I mean, that's my best theory, is that that's where these late arrivals are coming from, is other, nursing areas. So,
but there doesn't seem to be a direction of traveling. Like in our data as well, we had back and forth, west to east, east to west. Some people,
but they end up going to Antarctica in some way.
The tagging data shows that there might be several feeding grounds, or not all of them go down to the Antarctic. Like a lot of them actually headed kind of towards Africa, a bit westwards.
Yeah, like the subantarctic islands like Kwajalein Islands, Heard McDonald Islands, or they'll stay in the subtropical convergence zone, just sort of off the bite in Australia.
Right.
Yeah. And they only started that in 2020 as well, that tagging project. So it's all very new findings.
It's awesome.
Before that, it was believed they have a kind of an anti-clockwise migration path where they go from the Antarctic to the southern coast of Southern Hemisphere country, But yeah, the recent tagging data shows that's not what happened.
Which, again, isn't that fantastic?
That's crazy, just learning these things.
And again, it's a huge consortium that's come around that, and it's been funding that, and it's across the Southern Hemisphere where people are finding that out. And there's so much bigger than just our little local mom and pop research down the south. It's a huge project.
Yeah. How often have you had recaptures of the same whales? And is there any particular stories where there's been a whale that's
Katie will know them by name. Katie forms attachments to all of our whales. Initially the thought was, okay, we're going to go hard for 3 years. We're going to get a baseline information of pretty much go out every day. There's not going to be many whales that we miss, and we're going to set up the baseline of 3 years. And after those 3 years, really every whale that should come back should be a returner of those ones that we've seen, or at least most of them. That was what we thought back in 2022. But sort of while we were doing our since 2022, we've found that, that's when the papers came out about, the recovery rate is slowing down. It's going from, every 4.7 years. And now it's just getting closer and closer to every 5 years that we're having a return in calving. So that's the calving cycle. And so by our third year of doing this, at least the drone stuff, where we're getting the IDs and putting together a pretty comprehensive ID catalog on our coast, at least for those years, we're now we got to keep going, because maybe the calving interval is every 5 years. So I want to find out what the calving interval is. You got to get resides. So we've had a few resides over the years. We've had unaccompanied whales come back again. We've had a few yearlings where it's actually the calf coming back without its mum, which is looking a bit forlorn there, just kind of looking around. But really, especially this year being the fourth year of the drone project, there hasn't been as many returners as I thought there would be, but there's been a few. There's been a few returners, which is pretty great.
Yeah. But we didn't have any return birthing events of the same individual.
Right.
And then, it's the calves returning is obviously, that's actually one of my favorites, I think. We had one situation where a calf came back with its mum, so as a yearling and mum pair. And then another situation where a calf came back without its mum, and that calf that came by itself was actually one of our white calves in 2022. We called him, kids from the community called him Milky Way.
Okay.
And he had really beautiful stripes around his body, but was white otherwise. And the more black the white calves have on their body, the whiter the white parts appear, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So Milky Way actually didn't look very different the year after when he came back. He was still fairly white, just a little bit grayer. And friends of ours spotted him first at Shane's Beach. And so we drove past and he hung out, I think, for 2 weeks.
Yeah, he was there for a while.
Completely by himself. Mum didn't come that year at all. Oh, at least we didn't meet her.
No, I didn't see her, yeah.
But yeah, it's beautiful, and when we see them again, and they're like, "Yeah, you survived the first year. We're so proud of you."
Yeah, absolutely. That would be the hardest year. Is always the first year, I guess, with any.
I'd assume
any
so,
animal.
Absolutely,
so,
absolutely. And it is amazing to see how much care moms put into their calves. And I mean, these guys are, by the way, just from a behavioral standpoint, they are so loving. especially early on, like they're just constantly rubbing up against each other, and mums and calves there's been so much like close contact to each other, and they just, I think because they're positively buoyant, their behavior is so different to say a humpback, which they're very acrobatic and dynamic and move a lot. But these guys, being the chunky monkeys that they are, they just kind of, they float on the surface and are just very loving and very touching and just always in contact with each other. It's amazing to see. It's very fun. It's beautiful.
Their cognition must be pretty high, I think, as well. Like to have that behavior, right? That love and affection behavior is like just sort of, it's an emotion that's like you got to be fairly adept to.
You'd hope. You'd think so,
Yeah. I just lost my train of thought. I wanted to ask a question about how often it is to see the white whales, but then I now just remember what I was going to ask you. The interactions between humpback whales and southern rights. Like, do they get along?
We kind of thought of that. That's a good question in the sense that we heard one story and then kind of are piecing together our own story, and it's just theories. We're just having fun with the theories.
Yeah.
But initially, we heard like, no, they don't get along at all. Like when the humpbacks come in, the southern right whales, they rock off, or they'll hide away from humpies, because humpies are quite sort of gregarious, I think is the best word to describe them. They're, they breach a lot. They're quite gregarious, and southern rights can be a little bit sort of understated in their movement and how close to the shore they are. But we saw a few really awesome interactions, especially with southern humpback mums and southern right whale mums. So because we do have some humpbacks that calve down in Albany, which is pretty unusual. Like they really should be up calving in Exmouth. They should not be calving down in Albany. And so we have this one magical moment that Katie, you're already laughing about it, where we had this very fresh, like day-old humpback whale right next to a pretty large, chunky southern right whale calf. And the two mums on either side and the two calves are right next to each other. And they're just just the four of them are slowly heading into the sunset as we...
Oh, really?
It's just the best little
You
bit.
forgot one detail, the southern white calf was white.
Oh.
Which ties into your white whale question.
Yeah, it was our first... recorded white calf in 2022, and that year was very special for white calves because we had 8, and then a 9th one came visiting for aspirants as well. So Simba was the first of them. Sorry. And he actually has a special place in my heart because he was the first one that completed the travel from one end to the other of our survey area. 450 kilometers in his first 2 months of his life. How crazy. But yeah, he was the one that we met with the humpback mum and calf. Simba was about a month old, so you could see, like when whales are born, they're about the length of the face of mum, right? And when they are about ready to leave their breeding grounds, the calf would already be about half the size of mum. So
wow, they grow fast.
Yeah. Huge amount of energy transfer.
So you can see the difference, or you can see the age of the calf by the relation to the body size of its mum, basically. So that freshly born humpback calf, teeny tiny with still floppy fins, next to 1 month old white shining Simba, and then them both just cruising into the sunset.
The size difference
were they interacting?
No, but same speed and same direction.
Like, obviously aware of each other, right next to each other.
Yeah. And it was a cruising speed as well. It wasn't that like, one was trying to get away from the other one and the other one just chased. That wasn't like, they seemed very, very relaxed.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is really cool. It's like a movie ending, right?
It was a little bit like a movie ending, 100%. And since then you see interesting like humpback and southern right whale interactions where they just kind of are around and near each other. But
I feel like it has even increased, especially at Trigolo Beach. So Trigolo Beach is basically our main aggregation area, the main aggregation area in our survey area. And I feel like especially at the bottom half, like right below below Gordon Inlet, there's this patch where, especially last year, there were a lot of humpback whales. So it was like you have this southern white whale breeding area, and then you'd have like southern right, like so many, so dense. And then you'd have this patch of like 2 kilometers where there's a lot of humpbacks all of the sudden. And then southern rights again.
Yeah.
It's really weird.
Yeah, it is interesting.
Almost like they're dividing the bay a little bit.
Yeah.
Which is kind of, I think,
only
where
in
these
recent years though.
Yeah, same at Chains, like Tourist Rocks, even though you do get southern rights, like that is the humpback spot, really.
Yeah.
So there's these, sort of the westernmost end of most.
I wonder if
bays.
that's driven by like food or temperatures, currents, or if it is they're just avoiding each other?
I don't think it has anything to do with them avoiding each other, quite honestly. But I think it has to do with how they move, how humpbacks are, because the humpbacks are migrating sort of westward and then they'll hook up to Exmouth. So I think what happens is they just stick to the 20-meter depth contour. That's kind of roughly how they would navigate along the coast. And they just kind of run into sort of the end of the bay and then turn around and keep going westward.
Okay.
I think it's coincidence, but it is something that we were really interested in seeing if we could like form our own opinion about. And it's just fun little theories as we do our stuff.
Yeah. Well, you've got so much different data and so many different questions you could ask and answer with what you've got. So it's, amazing. White whales. How rare are they?
In theory, 3 to 4%.
That's actually a lot more than I thought.
Based on research, Based on research.
It was thought to be a lot rarer than that to begin with, though, wasn't it?
No.
4% or 3%,
Okay.
like you said, yeah.
Yeah. We often, in many years, we observed higher in just our survey area. So in some years, we really, really
11% was the highest.
Yeah. I think in 2022, that was still our
That's
record.
a large number, yeah.
Yeah. 8 white calves. And what is special about them? I mean, obviously they're beautiful. I mean, the others, I always feel awkward talking about the white calves. I always feel very racist talking about this. I love the black calves just as much as I do the white calves as well. But they're shiny underwater, first of all. And second of all, the white calves often have black markings, as I mentioned before. And it's so easy to spot that I was able to identify them from the plane as well.
They shine right through the water, just that.
But I knew exactly what individual it was, which one of the 8 white calves as well. And so, I could
You could form a relationship from the plane because you're like, that's you. And I know
you're not meant to be here.
Why are you moving around? Which normally we only get to do that later on the computer when we're like actually looking at the data. Sometimes, a month later, then we're like, that's how they moved. But it's nice to be able to piece it together when you quickly are able to recognize a calf.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And how long do they...
I don't know.
Well,
I don't know.
I wasn't going to ask that, but it would be interesting. I just thought that maybe some pigmentation of the blackness doesn't come out. Yeah. But how long do they stay white for?
Depends. All of them don't stay white for their entire life. There's no known white adult southern white whales.
Not like Migaloo white. Like we do get some that are very, very bright.
Yeah.
Like just
like
the other day.
Gray.
Well, no, just the other day, like one that was like very bright. Still grey. Like you wouldn't call it like Migaloo white. Like
Migaloo was
the very famous humpback that was like almost snowy white, almost perfectly white, No, but very, very like the lightest adult I've ever seen, like literally just the other day. Really, 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 really light. But
Beautiful,
they do grey out over time and like spots appear and they just turn grey. And you see mums that used to be a white calf and it's undoubtedly, you used to be a white calf, but now you're just grey.
And like the more black they have on them, the whiter the white part stays. So the calves that are very white, that almost have no black splotches on them, they would look grey at the end of the 2 months. They stay in the backgrounds already.
Yep.
So it's like the black splotches like absorb the
every week you see him again, it seems to start in the neck and it sort of grows from there.
Right.
And then one really interesting thing that we never get to talk about, but
hey, we're on a podcast, do it.
They seem to have something going on around their hip area. It's like a chevron, like basically it's a triangle on their back. And they could have a double triangle, or they could have just one side of a triangle. They could have just one side but double, if that makes sense. And the white calf, like a lot of the white calves have it in black, and a lot of the black calves, if they have white mottling on them, they have a white triangle
sort of
on their
back
black body.
Yeah, right. Do you think it made like a birthing mark or something like?
I mean,
that's connected to the placenta or in some way.
Yeah, I mean, other whales like these are no toothed whale examples, but pilot whales and orcas will have a saddle patch roughly in that same spot. So it might just be something like that. You know what I mean?
I never connected
And that's
that.
always that sort of in that same area, and the saddle does look like chevron-esque, but it's always in the same area.
Why are we mentioning chevron?
Oh no, chevron. So it's an upside down triangle. That's what that shape is called. I think it has a lot to do with military as well, and then obviously the oil and gas in WA. But no. So it's actually a shape. It's a triangle.
And didn't you want to name a whale chevron?
I did want to name a whale chevron because of that, and then we reconsidered because we're not going to do that.
What's a saddle patch? So is that where they're rubbing up against the mum?
No,
or?
you know the white part of an orca on their back?
Yeah.
It's a saddle patch.
It's just a marking, like a type of marking.
Oh, okay. Body. So
yeah.
Okay, so I thought you had a theory to why there might be a.
No. I think that's just it's in the same location that other species have a
right. So some sort of was it counter? I forgot what it's called. Counter something where the shades of like
counter shading.
Oh,
like great whites do, with the white body,
penguins,
and the black top.
Yeah, to like distort their silhouettes.
Yeah,
from predators or something like that. But
none of that.
Okay,
they're pretty much, especially adult. Most your average southern right whale is almost perfectly black. Sometimes with a little white patch on their belly, or sometimes a larger white patch on their belly. But I don't think that has anything to do with counter shading.
Okay,
I think if you're that big of a whale,
yeah.
But I mean. Humpbacks do. I mean, humpbacks have got the white bottom and then the dark top, which, yeah.
Guys, this has been absolutely fantastic. It's been so interesting. Like, I learned so much just by sitting here, and like, obviously, I've been speaking to you guys for a long time, but I don't think we got to sit down and just talk whales for an hour and 10 minutes.
And sharks.
And sharks. Yeah, it's been a jam-packed full episode. There's been so many good little nuggets in this one. So yeah, no, thank you, and thank you for making the journey to come here as well.
Absolutely.
I know how busy you guys are, and you're flying out tomorrow. You've just come from up north, so and to make this happen is time-wise, everything's been it's been fantastic.
Yeah, this is fun.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So we're jumping back on because just as we've ended the podcast, we just started speaking again, and there's been a very important and interesting observation and note that we should definitely bring up. So we've talked about, we'll talk about the site fidelity of whales, how they come back to these places where they give birth and give birth again. And then we talked about people interacting with them and then what this can cause. So I'm just going to leave it as that and pass it over to you to describe a bit more in detail of what.
Well, really the frustration of we always mention this if we do get interviewed, but it doesn't get picked up enough. And we're like, we're now hijacking your podcast to talk about it.
It's a great opportunity to talk about that actually. Cause as Max said, we see it so often that there's, tinnies just bombing up and down a beach very close to shore, literally in line, southern whites. If you imagine yourself sitting in the plane or even in the drone as well, you fly along the coast, you would find them dotted along an imaginary line, and that line would be parallel to the coastline basically, and that line would sit anywhere between 200 and 400 meters from shore. That's how southern right whales are basically, and then they go channel run. Yeah, so if a tinny decides to bomb up the coast at a couple of hundred meters away from the shore, he would meet so many southern whites.
Go right by them.
Yeah, exactly. And some people are aware of it, some people are not. And then those that are aware, maybe they would stop for a whale and then maybe approach a bit too close because they want to have a good picture or whatever, with the thing with whales, obviously everyone wants to appreciate them. And the most important thing, one of the most important things is that we want to appreciate them on the long term, right? And maybe the next generations of us want to appreciate them as well. And the way we do that is that we just are respectful, to use Max's words, to respectfully share the space with them, share the ocean with them. And
the problem that we see really is that I don't think a lot of people are aware of the difference that you get with different whales. Humpbacks are quite curious and southern right whales are pretty shy, I think is a good way to generalize it.
Yeah.
And that when you have a really close encounter, you might scare a southern right whale, they might leave. So there's been records of, I think, Peninsula Valdez, right, Katie? Yeah. Where there was a record of southern right whale that was harassed by a boat and just left and didn't come back again to
ever.
At least in this paper, no. I don't know if they come back again over like a longer time scale, but it won't come back that season. And these areas that are really sheltered along the coast are kind of rare. It's important real estate for a southern right whale, these very sheltered bays. And if it decides to leave that, it might have to go to a less suitable area that has more disturbance, because they are feeding these 250 liters of mother's milk a day that they're feeding their calves. So it's an insane amount of energy is being transferred. And so you want a very calm...
For about 2 months.
For about 2 months straight.
And she's not feeding at that same time.
So it's a really important time. She
needs those calm conditions to save as much energy as she can and just
focus it on the calf.
Put it all on the calf.
So when you disturb them, in southern rights, potentially more so than other species, but I think it's as a general rule, when you do disturb a whale and it moves on, when it's in its reproductive or nursing habitat, not on its migration path, but this is where they're going to stay for a long time, and you disturb it and you displace it potentially because it's like, I'm not going to stay here. This isn't safe, or I'm afraid of coming back here.
Yeah. So she might leave then.
It might be a real problem, and you might be damaging that, and they might not come back at all.
Yeah.
You were saying before that they usually find it hard for birthing places.
Exactly.
And all that.
She might find it difficult to find another place suitable. And then a lot of researchers mention, it's never been like a main topic, but it's been mentioned in a lot of publications regarding southern right whale distribution and habitat use at the coast, is that they seem to prefer areas where there are southern rights already present. So when a mother gets chased, like a pregnant mother, for example, gets chased out of her breeding ground, she goes off for wander and looks for a different bay. And then she finds a bay that is perfect conditions, like really calm, shallow, sheltered, sandy bays. But there is no other whale around. She might decide to keep looking, and then eventually it might be too late for her, and maybe the birth fails, and then maybe the next time she would come back up and give birth, she wouldn't even try her birthplace anymore. She would go off and maybe again doesn't find another place, and then maybe it takes 2 breeding cycles for her to give birth again. That could be one scenario what happens, So a lot of people think, they want to go watch whales and they just sacrifice a few minutes. They just to disturb the animal just to get a photo. It's only going to be a few minutes, right? Like you might see a reaction in the animal. They might be freaked out for a minute or two, but I'm sure they will recover in a few minutes. Like it's really not that wild, but no, there's actually a lot more that is behind disturbing whales, that a lot more risks behind it.
And you just mentioned before they may never find another birthing place again and then for not give birth. Yeah, we don't
know that, yeah.
Or at least not a very suitable spot. They will give birth, but that will happen. But is it going to be in a suitable spot? Is it in the same spot that she gave birth?
Limits the success then, I guess.
Where you're going to have success. And again, given that we don't know a lot about them, it's potentially more damaging than we think it is.
Yeah.
So it's definitely something to keep in mind when thinking of protecting these areas, or as we have marine parks that are slowly coming up around Australia, something to think about.
I think that is something very beautiful we know about the whales, and a lot of people don't know about that about whales, basically the way they live their life, that they have a home they return to every year, like every time they come back, every time they have to basically visit the coast again. That is very beautiful that we can know that. That knowledge is, I feel privileged, but we also have to use it, we need to make sense of it. And then, okay, we know this about whales. Now, what does that mean? That these areas are especially important for not only this whale, but also his mates and his next generation. What can we do about it? Well, maybe we don't need to bump down. Maybe we can go a bit slower, it doesn't mean that we don't have to, not go at all. But maybe that gives people a bit more motivation if they understand the way those whales live.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah.
No, that was great.
Quick long aside.